You know, after the hurricane and its aftermath, there was a lot of discussion about the fact that those who were impacted by the achingly slow response on the part of the federal government were disproportionately black. And one of my favorite musicians, that's right, I'm 44, but I still can hang, Kanye West, said on a telethon, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And that also shook up the ordinary. NBC scrambled and they had to. Mike Myers was standing there. He's usually a funny guy, but he didn't have a witty comeback for that one. He was looking like somebody had just made a bad smell or something. I love Kanye's music, but I actually disagreed with how he phrased his statement. And I said this on a Sunday talk show last week. I said, I do not ascribe to the White House or to FEMA, to Mr. Chertoff or Mr. Brown, any active malice. I don't think that they were in there plotting and saying, you know what, these are black people, let's not rescue them. But rather, what was revealed was a passive indifference that is common in our culture, common in our society, a sense that, of course, once the evacuation order is issued, that you will hop in your SUV and fill it up with $100 worth of gasoline and load up your trunk with some sparkling water and take your credit card and check in to the nearest hotel until the storm passes. And the notion that folks couldn't do that simply did not register in the minds of those in charge. And it's not surprising that it didn't register, because it hasn't registered for the last 6, 7, 8, 20, 50, 75, 100 years. The incompetence was colorblind. But what was important to understand was the fact that the people that we saw in front of the Superdome and in front of the convention center, they had been abandoned before the hurricane. They had been abandoned to dilapidated housing and inadequate schools and the mayhem and violence and chaos that exists in inner city communities all across the country. You know, everybody talked about the looters and the snipers and those loops that played over and over again on CNN. But I mentioned to somebody the other day, what I would love to see after the waters have been pumped out of New Orleans and folks have been relocated and the rebuilding process has begun and the smell of death and decay has become scrubbed out of the Crescent City, I would love somebody to take a look at the statistics of homicide rates and sexual abuse in the 9th Ward of New Orleans before the hurricane struck. Because what you'll discover, in fact, is that the violence has always been there. It just wasn't on your television screens because it wasn't spilling out onto the lives of the rest of us.